You're listening to Chillworthy,
a podcast where two best friends discuss mysteries, murders, and anything in between for your enjoyment.
So if you're ready to hear some chilling and unsettling cases, you're in the right place. Happy listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chillworthy with Brent and Talia.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. You
are.
I have to say, my thoughts on summer. Generally speaking, least favorite.
Absolutely.
I want fall to pretty much start as soon as summer starts. But there is something about when summer initially begins, not literally, but like when you can just feel it in the air.
Yeah.
And I feel like
when the season clicks, as Carrie Bradshaw says.
Yes, exactly. And oh my God, that just literally brought me back to when she's putting that blanket on
Hell
her bed
yeah,
with
that's
the
one. I
breeze
think that's
through
my
the window.
favorite scene ever.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It is very cozy. You can kind of taste the crisp, if you will, in the air. But anyway, so yeah, I feel like this past week here has been like that with the weather. Like it got super hot. It was like in the 90s, which is certainly not my ideal temperature. But it's just nice. Like it's making me want to read all these like summer themed books immediately. I feel like you can smell the ocean in the air, even if you're not near the ocean.
Well, that's a bit of a stretch.
You can just feel it. And I like it. I need to start my To Kill a Mockingbird annual read that I have to do it. That's like the epitome of summer to me. And I don't know. There's just something that's just felt very cozy to me this week.
Something's in the air.
Right.
Well.
How are you?
Great. Good.
You had an eventful weekend.
Yeah, busy weekend.
Tell the chillers.
I just went, to the campground again, but just, full of activities and
you can barely keep your eyes
you're
open
up
right
very
now.
late sometimes. Right. So yeah, all in all though, very nice.
Good.
I don't have any books.
I only have all the ones that I mentioned in the last episode. I am still reading, but I forget if I told you all that I started this or if I did it after we met last. 3 Days in June. Wonderful, wonderful book. You would not like it.
No, it sounds like a snooze fest.
Maybe you should read it today because you are quite exhausted.
I like 7 Days in August myself.
What's that?
Nothing. I don't know.
Oh, you're mucking me.
Yeah.
3 Days in June is by Ann Tyler. I read by her several years ago. I can't, of course, remember what it was about, but I loved it and had a beautiful cover. But 3 Days in June it's just in 3 parts, and it's about this woman whose daughter is getting married. So it's the day before, the day of, and the day after. And it was amazing. It was so just simple and just basically about family dynamics in this like little immediate family of the parents of the bride and her husband to be. Yeah. The grandmother's in it. It was just, I loved it. I thought it was so well done, full of awkward moments. It was excellent.
Well,
also, I have to say,
you'll have to be excited for the both of us.
I also want to tell you, 3 things. I watched Jaws. Actually, Ashley watched it with me, and it is certainly not a favorite movie of hers, but she suggested, I was commenting how, Shark Week is coming up, as you know, one of my favorite times of the year. Yeah. Not until July, the end of July. July 20th, I want to say it starts in the 20s. And so, one of my favorite times to watch Jaws is the summer. So she put it on. Makes sense, yeah. Right. Watched it. It was fantastic. And I'm so disappointed in myself. I never made this connection. We're watching it, and she's like walking by the TV, and she's like, this guy is so familiar. I know he's in something. And she goes to like leave the room and then stops and like exclaims how it's one of the big daddies of the Golden Girls. That's who the mayor is. Mayor Vaughn is Big Daddy. She got it. clicked.
Oh, wow. No, I would have never known that.
Insane. And I mean, my God, he's so young. Brown hair, not white.
Yeah.
Insane. So yeah, that was lovely. And it is the 50th anniversary this year of Jaws. So I think, which I'm so silly, I've never read it, which is insane to me.
I guess.
So I gotta read it. And I think
But you weren't happy with Jurassic Park.
I thought of that too. I had the exact same thought. I know. And
I'm just saying.
I also think it's not great that, like with Jurassic Park, I not only watched the movie, but multiple times before reading the book. I don't think that did me any favors. Same with this. I mean, I've seen Jurassic Park way more than I've seen Jaws, but
bum,
still.
Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum, bum.
So, yeah, I looked it up on Libby. It was available. I downloaded it. I don't know when.
I was going to say, that's not shocking. It's 50 years old or more.
Say that. Fine. Yeah, true. Probably more because it obviously came out first. So I downloaded it, and I'm going to see when the wind blows me in that direction, and then I'm going to read it, and I will report back. But hopefully it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, actually, I know, we already have in the books to go see Jurassic Park, but
yeah,
I would like to throw another suggestion in the ring.
Do it.
For another movie, because I saw this movie that's coming out, or it might have just come out, but I think it isn't out yet, where it combines, dare I say, both of our fears into one movie.
Oh, I don't know if I'm up for that. Maybe I'll just fast forward through my parts to get to your parts.
So it's abduction. Which you're not a fan of by any means.
Correct.
So a guy who abducts people.
Good.
And
throws them in the water.
Feeds them to sharks.
So sign me up for that.
Disgusting.
Part. Well.
Like.
They gotta eat.
The preview that I saw, he abducted a couple, and he took the guy, tied his hands up, and put him on one of those hooks. Those big hooks that hang over, that you would put a crabbing net on to lower him into the water, where the sharks were swimming. Disgusting.
Them.
No, to lower him in.
Oh.
Absolutely disgusting.
I meant taunt the shark, by the way, not taunt the human.
No, I know what you...
Yeah.
I do know what you mean.
Said about...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't even remember what it's called right now, but that is not for me. But, it could be if I wanted to be scared.
Right.
So, but, I mean, we are less than 1 month away from Jurassic Park coming out, so...
I'm very excited. I just hope no Dineys are injured in the
they're going to be. There's always a sad moment.
I know.
There's a sad...
Hopefully no one's left behind in this one.
2 or 3
that
sad
one broke
moments.
my heart the most. That's true. That's true. I just got a major... craving isn't the word. Desire, I guess. To see the one... Which one is my second favorite Jurassic World? I don't know what. Probably because of summer, I bet you. Because it's very touristy.
Very summer. Oh, yeah. It's a very summer.
Yeah, I think I have to go and watch that
summer
later.
Deep movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Heavy. Summer heavy, I meant, not
summer
emotional
vibes,
heavy.
yes.
Yes, right.
Okay, so I said to Talia a couple of days ago, I'd like to introduce, my fish facts are done, everyone.
They don't need to be. You're choosing.
I'm choosing. I am making that choice.
Fine.
But I said to Talia, I think it would be nice if we would report on it briefly, very briefly. And I'm saying that to you, Talia.
I know. A short segment.
Right, very short, but just something that maybe we saw throughout the week that was something nice, right? Because we're always reporting on something sad, something positive. Nothing, it doesn't have to be earth-shattering, but just an act of kindness or whatever. So
anything positive. I think you'll be very delighted with how brief I'm going to be.
Wonderful.
With this. Yeah.
So we'll have to come up with the segment name. I don't know what that can be right now. It's not the time to brainstorm.
Right.
I can see behind your eyes something is happening, and we don't have the time for that.
Don't torture these poor people.
Right. So but my happy thing to report is something we just watched here because we were going to talk about it, but it was at a zoo. And now I don't know what the people were saying because they were not speaking English, but context clues wise,
clues.
There was an elephant, and he was in an exhibit. He or she was in an exhibit.
There was a whole crowd of animals, a whole slew of.
There were gazelles, and one of the gazelles was in like a man-made, pond, lake, whatever, and it was having issues getting out. I don't know if it fell in by accident, or like I was saying to Talia, maybe it was at the wrong side where like the steps weren't at. I don't know, because I doubt the zoos would make a water feature that would intentionally trap animals. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, and it was like in-ground pool level, because you know what I mean?
Oh, well, yeah, with big rocks around it, which is why I feel like there had to be another way to get in and out of that, but doesn't matter. Anyway, the point is, the video showed this elephant was literally like trying, like it took several attempts to wrap its trunk around the gazelle's horns that was trying to get out of the water, and eventually did pull the gazelle out of the water. And like, effectively, I would love to believe the zookeepers would have been there, but saved the gazelle's life, I think.
And the way he or she was hovering around the gazelle, like, totally picked up on the animal was in distress. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the sound quality was pretty decent in that video, and I didn't hear any animal exclaiming sounds, so I feel like it wasn't making any sounds. But for the elephant to have picked up on that, gone right over, hovered near it, like, tried to figure out, you know what I mean?
I agree. And then he checked up on it after.
Yes.
After he pulled him out, because the gazelle wasn't like too exhausted to walk or anything.
No,
so he just walked away from the pond, but the little elephant went over and put his little trunk out again. So my point is, how wonderful. God bless that little elephant.
Yes.
Interspecies empathy for the win.
Oh, I agree. I'm glad people were there to catch that moment.
So, Talia, what do you have to say?
I just want to express gratitude that I have arms. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Right.
And
she's not. She isn't kidding.
We are lucky enough to have been born with them. You can also relate to this. You also have arms.
I'm scratching one with the other now.
See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Can you imagine? You may not be able to scratch an
Talia,
itch.
I understand. I do.
We do not fully appreciate how much we use our arms, how we take them for granted, how much easier it makes life. And I am grateful for having my arms. And that's all I want to say. You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice and brief.
Very.
And I mean it.
Yeah.
My gratitude,
Yeah. No,
that I'm not joking.
I get it.
Good.
Next week, everybody, nose.
Nose and legs were on my mind. Absolutely.
Well, sure. Eyebrows.
Those are not on my mind.
But on a serious note, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Because people take things for granted all the time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely.
So yeah, for sure. So, thank you for participating.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, just keep in mind, though, moving forward, it's something that you see out in the world.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I did think of that, though. I am going to do some of that. I'm going to do some.
So you're just going to name body parts, is what you're saying?
Sometimes, yes.
Kneecaps.
One day last week, I saw a slug on the sidewalk, and I was delighted. One, because I had not seen one in my neck of the woods ever.
A leopard slug, yes.
Yes. And two, I saw it, and I did not step on it. I'm happy
my
timing.
Yes.
Well, hey, you want me to comment on things out in the wild? That was a prime example. Joy on multiple levels. I knocked 2 out today.
Yeah, okay.
Arms and slugs.
Maybe that'll be the name of the segment. Tell you what's on your list of arms and slugs today?
I think this is wonderful. Done. That's what it's called. And you're only a true chiller if you know what that means.
Well, now speaking...
Oh, I was just...
Wow!
Speaking of that...
Speaking of true chillers...
Oh, my gosh.
We want to take a second.
We're always crying about people not...
I'm always crying.
True. Making comments, interacting with us.
Yes. Because we would love... we like to hear... Well, I like to hear from you. I'd like to think Talia does as well.
I do, but I'm
only
not as
speaking from myself.
On it as you are.
But the point is, we do have some people who have been very kind in their comments and reviews, and
involvement, consistency.
Yes. And we care enough that we just want to take a second to name some of them.
Some shout out situations.
Right. So,
would you like to go first?
Yes.
Fine.
So I want to say thank you to Kelly Ryan because she has just written a very nice review.
Delightful gal.
Right.
Very positive.
Yes. So very happy, and we're very grateful for her feedback. So Kelly Ryan, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Take it away.
All right.
All right.
I would like to thank Bunny. They have commented on every single episode that they have listened to.
God bless her.
I know. Deeply grateful. Jessica Y has left several comments and messages, and she has been a day one supporter of our podcast.
Well, I hope she hears this.
Ba-boom. Yeah, I hope she's still listening. I hope she has not given up on us.
What if she stopped last episode? Oh, that would suck.
That really would be sad. Oh my gosh. Okay. Katie, she has left several comments and just very nice interactions back and forth. Lovely. And one, now this is I don't want to sound like I'm 80, but like screen name, is that what you say? Handle? What should I call
Username.
this? Username. Okay. JP Kyrock. And they are also delightful, left a very nice in-depth review of our podcast. Very thoughtful.
So yes, love
and
it.
Thank you very much. Thank all of you for listening. Thank you for the comments, and just it means the world to us.
Yes, because especially as amateur people who, we
don't have a freaking clue what we're doing.
No, we don't. You should see what happens every time before we start this show, and just me trying to get the microphones to work. Like, it's not good.
You're being very hard on yourself. It's a little bit of a circus. But it's fun.
So yes, we just wanted to take a moment before we started. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you all.
And then we're just going to jump into the case today.
Alrighty.
So the case today that I decided to do, I kept seeing this on Netflix. It kept being previewed or whatever. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch the whole documentary yet, but it was fascinating enough that I was like, okay, I'm going to look into this for the podcast. So I don't know if you saw this on Netflix, the Tylenol Murders.
Yes.
So did you watch it?
No, but Ashley had told me about this case like way back, like months ago. And then the other day we saw it come up on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, there it is.
So I started watching maybe like the first half hour to like 45 minutes, but there's 3 episodes. So
oh, not bad though. Like easy,
no.
If you're going to hunker down and decide to do it.
I might.
I
just might.
It's not a 10-part 10 episode.
Mm-hmm. It's just 2 or 3 episodes.
Right.
But anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, I think that's nice. Sorry for my delay. I was watching the snail over here. This topic is not like a normal thing that we typically, you know what I mean? Like in terms of subject matter. Not anything like our norm. You know what I'm saying?
I guess I do. I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't talk about like the Sudafed killer or the Dimetap
the
strangler.
manner of how this went down. Nobody's missing.
Oh yeah, but they're dead.
Oh, they sure are.
Okay, let's just get into this. All right, so the year's 1982 that this happens. So on a fall morning of 1982,
Lovely,
absolutely.
crisp, crunchy leaves. Got it.
An ordinary bottle of Tylenol turned into a death trap for unsuspecting people in the Chicago area. And I think what makes this case so like Chillworthy, I guess, is that it can literally, it could happen to anybody. And side note, even though I only said a sentence, I sometimes don't, well, no, actually a lot. I get nervous when people make documentaries like this or movies like this because I feel like it gives other people ideas.
Copycat. Yeah, but things went into place since this.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. It freaks me out. But anyway, so.
You're not a Tylenol taker, though, are you? Granted, this could be anything. It could be
you
vitamins.
got that right. Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about Tylenol.
Right, but bottles.
Advil. Vitamins. Stool softener.
Right. Right.
Whatever.
Maybe you could start drinking prune juice, except that also has a little
Absolutely.
cover on it, I'd imagine.
So,
I don't know.
all right, we have to get
Maybe
into this
the
now.
glass bottle juices would be more up your alley, because I think those just have the pop lids, not a covering lid. I think that's the way to go.
Well, this happened with capsules.
I'm talking about prune juice
I'm going to mute
bottles.
your mic on here. All right. So like I said, what's crazy about this is that this could happen anywhere with almost anything, and that's freaky for sure.
It's spooky.
So yes, spooky, creepy, chill-worthy. So here we go, the story of the 1982 Chicago Tylenol Murders. So we are, 40 years later?
More, I think.
You're probably right.
80, what year is it? 2025? 42 years? 43. 3, 4, 5, 3, right?
The chillers
43.
can figure that out. We're getting lost in the weeds. It's not important. So
Right.
let's break down the events of what was going on here. So these deaths that happened, they occurred roughly over a 48-hour time span.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yes. So it started with a chain of deaths that at first they seemed unrelated because people were just...
People die, man.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So this is kind of like going to go through like a date-to-date timeline of what was going on here. So we have the first. September 29th, 1982. Early morning, this happened in Elk Grove Village.
Sounds very cutie.
It does. 12-year-old Mary Kellerman. She woke up on Wednesday, September 29th, with a runny nose and a sore throat. So her parents decided to keep her home from school and gave her one extra-strength Tylenol capsule to help her feel better. A short time later, Mary's father, Dennis, heard a loud thud from the bathroom. He said, "I heard her go into the bathroom, then I heard something drop." So he said he called out her name, and she didn't answer. So he said he opened the door to the bathroom, and she was lying on the floor unconscious.
And how old did you say? 12?
12. So he calls 911. Mary was rushed by paramedics to Alexian Brothers Medical Center. But I guess despite hours of effort, like, CPR, I guess they even used a heart pacemaker to help her.
To jolt, yeah.
But she was pronounced dead at 9:56 a.m.
Fast.
Yeah. The cause of the healthy 7th grader's sudden collapse, like, nobody knew what was going on.
So they had to wait for the autopsy?
Well, I'm just saying, like, when she was, I guess, actively dying, like, they weren't like, this is what's happening. They,
Right,
they
they
had
could
no
not
idea what
figure
was
it out.
happening,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So investigators did make a note, though, that among, because they went through the house to just take inventory of, like, what was going on that day, I guess, that morning. So they did make a note that there were cold medicines in Mary's house, and there was a recently purchased bottle of Tylenol. And her father did mention that Mary's mom had bought it at a local, it's called Jewel Osco. So
Like a drugstore chain?
yeah, I think
time?
so. Like JEWEL-OSCO.
Interesting.
So they ended up taking that bottle as evidence and locked it away at the police station. They, but they still weren't thinking
There's actually
anything wrong with that. It was
Yeah.
just something she had ingested not long before, so they were taking it just as a precaution or whatever. But they took other, like, household, items, and then, like I said, they were just taking inventory for this girl's unexpected death. So that's happening. Then midday in Arlington Heights. Now, this is only hours after Mary and what happened to her. 15 miles away, another strange thing was happening to somebody named Adam Janis. He was a 27-year-old postal worker from Arlington Heights, and he was sick that day. He wasn't feeling well. So around lunchtime, he complained to his wife about having a headache, and he took 2 extra-strength Tylenol capsules from a bottle that he had recently bought at a...
Julasco.
Well, at the same type of... I don't know if it was the same store, but it was because it's 15 miles. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. You're
but
right.
yes, I don't know if it was the same store, but it was the same
chain.
Yes. There you go.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
Yes.
Okay.
So within minutes of taking this Tylenol, Adam collapses and he goes unconscious. His family rushes him to the emergency room at Northwest Community Hospital. Doctors, and including the ICU chief, whose name was Dr. Thomas Kim, they obviously fought to revive Adam, but by 3:15, Dr. Kim had pronounced that Adam had died as well. So now their initial assumption with Adam was that he had suffered a massive heart attack. And of course, the idea of Mary Kellerman wasn't even...
Well, different hospitals.
Right, like
not
nothing...
on each other's radar
exactly. Yeah, so, I mean, completely ignorant of each other's cases.
Right.
So Adam, unfortunately, passes away, and, like, his family is now grieving, and they're in shock, and Adam's relatives, they gather at his home, you know, after his death, because, I mean, they're just trying to comfort and console each other and whatever.
Yeah, so distraught. I mean, he was in his 20s.
Yes, well...
27, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah, and Mary was in her teens.
I mean, yes, that's
So-
outrageous as well. They're just,
Yeah.
I mean, even I'm thinking for someone in their 20s to die of how they thought it was a heart attack, I mean, that's still abnormal. Postal
Right.
worker, I mean, typically I would imagine they're in good health, they're active.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought you were going to be like, 20s, like, that's almost teens. And
But I
teens
didn't.
is, like, that's almost 8. But anyway.
I didn't, though.
True listeners will know what that is.
I agree. Good reference,
And
man.
we shan't be explaining it.
No, we will not reference anything. I was just going to give something away.
All right. Anyway, back to this. So his family now, they're gathered, all together, just kind of like reeling from what just happened. So at his house, I don't even know, this horrible situation gets even worse. Because Adam's younger brother, Stanley, he's 25, and Stanley's wife, Teresa, who's 20. I have the chills. Just by the way you're looking at me, I guess.
Because I suspect I know where this is going, and if it is going where I think, I'm just thinking this family and the devastation.
Well, it's going where you think. So they had come over to kind of like comfort Adam's wife. So understandably, the stress of this day, people were getting some headaches and not
funny,
feeling
but,
well.
Right.
I'm not laughing. But you are. What the hell?
Because it's so, absurd, but not. It's insane. It's just this entire thing is outrageous.
It's very outrageous. So, yeah, they're not feeling good. So Stanley asked his wife if she would get him some Tylenol. And it just so happened that there was an open bottle out on Adam's kitchen counter, which, of course, was the same one that Adam used earlier. So Teresa hands 2 capsules to Stanley, and she decided to take 2 herself. So within minutes of this, Stanley said, "I don't feel good." He walked out of the washroom and collapsed. From what I found here, he literally fell into his wife's arms in the kitchen.
Oh my God.
So then almost immediately after that, Teresa collapsed on the floor with the exact same symptoms of collapsing, like being unconscious,
Which, thank God, Adam's wife wasn't like, give me some of this Tylenol too. You know what I mean? That someone was there to be like, I was here, I watched what happened, I saw what they took, I saw the effects it had on them.
Right.
Thank God there was a witness.
Well, there were more. I think there were more people than just those 2 there. But so because I know family members called, not because it was like a gathering of family members,
not just the wife. Yeah,
right.
yeah. Good call.
So these family members call 911 again.
Same freaking house.
Right. Which God knows what the 911 people are thinking, but.
They're dropping none of this is freaking funny. But
I was thinking they were probably thinking, oh, this is a mistake. If the operator would call the ambulance and say, hey, we have an emergency at 123 Main Street. And they were like, no, Janet.
We were there.
Yeah.
Keep up. Janet's keeping up.
So anyway, now it's 5:40 when they call the ambulance again. And the Arlington Heights Fire Department, they arrive to this really bizarre scene yet again. So 2 more people now are down in the exact same house.
Which, may I say, as much of a travesty as this was for Adam's family, thank God, I would imagine, like, these three poor souls really are what tied things together for people to start looking like, what the hell is going on here, to try to crack this, because the fact that it was all the same household.
Yeah. Oh, well,
not
yeah.
that they're from the same household, but all the same house.
Yeah.
Within hours. I mean...
No, you're right.
God, in a way, but terrible for them.
So during all the chaos, like initially, some of the neighbors also rushed over to help. One of them was a nurse who tried to assist before the ambulances took Stanley and Teresa to the hospital. And of course, they took them to the same place where Adam had just passed away. So like, that's nuts. But by that evening, Stanley was pronounced dead at 8:15 p.m. And his wife, Teresa, was resuscitated and put on life support, but she had suffered irreversible damage.
At 20 years old.
Yeah. So she, I guess, ended up staying in a coma for a few days. And then she died on October 1st. And when she died, she officially then became the 7th Tylenol murder victim.
7th.
So,
and all of these people were Chicago.
I think so, yeah.
Residents or whatever.
Yeah. Well, close. Vicinity.
Right.
So now the Janus family lost 2 sons and a daughter-in-law in one day. And all in the same manner. So like now people are thinking, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
So at this point, local officials knew that something was extremely unusual, but they had no idea what. So paramedics and doctors, they hadn't connected at the time that there was any problem with the Tylenol. Because again, it's Tylenol. Nobody's thinking anything about anything. So at first they were thinking, because again, keep in mind, they are not thinking of the other little girl.
Right.
So
not even aware of her yet.
Right. So they're like, well, maybe there was carbon monoxide poisoning that was in the house. Or like maybe there was some kind of contaminated food that had like, well, poison or like a virus or something in it that they were all ingesting or something. So Arlington Heights police ended up contacting the village's, because I guess it's like it was considered a village, the public health nurse, whose name was Helen Jensen, and they asked her if she would help them investigate like these weird deaths.
Yeah.
So now we're in the afternoon. So this is late afternoon on the 29th
Of October. Because we were at October.
No,
1st.
September.
Oh.
Yeah, September.
So, it was when she was on life support, sorry. And that's when Teresa, yeah.
Yes. So the afternoon, again, around the same time, another incident was occurring 30 miles away in a small town of Winfield. So another woman by the name of Mary, I guess she went by Lynn Rayner. She was 27 years old. And she was at home caring for her newborn baby.
Oh my gosh.
And she had given birth to her 4th child just 1 week earlier. So Mary developed, as the other people did, she had a headache, and she decided to get some Tylenol. So she took 2 of the Tylenol capsules that now she, people think, bought it from a local Frank's Finer Foods grocery store, so it wasn't the same chain that the other people got it from.
Yeah, the drugstore, yeah.
So she takes it. Not long after, Mary collapses on the floor. So her husband is not at home, but he comes home to a terrible scene, obviously, because there's a newborn baby. His wife is His wife is now on the floor. Mary is rushed to Central DuPage Hospital. Doctors fight to save her, but as with all the others, unfortunately, Mary was pronounced dead by that evening.
But now introduces another new hospital, because that's not the hospital that the other 4 have been to, or were.
Right. So her death was just as all the others, a mystery. You know, she was a young mom who had been fine just hours before. Now she had passed away, and she left behind a husband and 4 children, including an infant, as I said. So, again, though, at this moment, nobody connected Mary's collapse to any of the other incidents because, again, how would you? I mean,
nobody knows that fast.
Right. So, again, late afternoon of the 29th, another woman, Mary McFarland. She was 31, and she was a resident of Elmhurst. She was at work. She worked at an Illinois Bell phone store when she told coworkers that she had a terrible headache. So she stepped into the break room and took some Tylenol from a bottle. We don't know where she got that bottle, or I don't know. But within minutes, Mary McFarland also collapsed to the floor.
At her job.
Yes. She was taken to Good Samaritan Hospital in Dowers Grove.
New hospital.
Thank you. Like all the others, her condition deteriorated very rapidly, and Mary died later that evening on September 29th, or potentially in the early hours of the 30th.
And they're all so young. They're all 20s, 30s,
I did notice that, yeah.
It's not like anyone was even elderly or middle-aged even.
Yeah. So now, with Mary's sudden death, you know, we're starting to get up there in the deaths here. So at this time, however, you know, her case was handled in a different town and a different hospital. So again,
no one's
still, people are
connecting.
just dying. I mean, you know, it's like you said, the only real connection was that the one was the same house with family members, but besides that, there's no other reason to connect any of these other deaths. So
even if you were like the spouse of one of these people and you're hearing about the 12-year-old who passed away or one of these women, people, again, die all the time.
Right.
So as a relative or spouse, like I said, you're not even going to necessarily hear that on the news. I'm not sure if you'd be watching the news that evening anyway, but if you were to be,
yeah,
you know, you're not necessarily going to think there's any connection.
well, that would be like if like a neighbor died suddenly, I'm not going to all of a sudden Google and say other deaths today. Like, I mean, nobody does that.
Right. Well, that we know of.
Well,
Maybe
yes.
some
And they
people
didn't
did.
have Google back then.
Good call.
There was no ChatGPT to help them out. But anyway, so again, different town, different hospital. The dots had yet to be connected again. So to her family and to local police, this was just as baffling as everybody else. You know, a healthy 31-year-old mother just collapses at work with no explanation. So now we're on the evening of September 29th. And we're back now to Arlington Heights. So now we're back at the Janus household. And the first responders and officials, they start to put the pieces together. Because after Stanley and Teresa were transported to the ER, Arlington Heights investigators, including Helen Jensen, who was the village health person, and as well as the Cook County Deputy Medical Examiner, Nick Picious. So he sounds very suspicious.
Full of piss and vinegar.
Ridiculous. Oh. They arrive at the Janus home because they're going to now search around because they're thinking it's environmental factors.
Right.
A gas leak or something.
Mold.
So Nurse Jensen, she's expecting to find maybe where this carbon monoxide is coming from, or maybe she's going to come across some weird kind of poisoned food, but she sees nothing obvious as she's going through the house. No gas leaks, no toxins lying around, no mold. So then Jensen, he noticed that there's this open Tylenol bottle on the kitchen shelf. And he, I guess something, maybe intuition or whatever, told him to examine it a little bit. And he saw that there were 6 capsules missing, which would have accounted for the normal dose for 3 adult people to each take a dose.
2, 4, 6.
You got it. So he was show me this bottle. Like, let
Show
me
me.
see this a second.
Fiddle about.
Right. So there was no tamper-proof seal on the bottle because in 1982, medical bottles only had that little cotton inside.
Right.
There was no foil or plastic seal on the top. So Jensen had later said that I counted up the pills and saw 6 capsules missing. And there were 3 people dead. I said right then and there, it's the Tylenol. Investigator Picious agreed that this was a pretty big coincidence. He took the Tylenol bottle as evidence and they rushed it to the hospital where they could do some tests on it. So around 10 p.m. that night, Jensen and Picious also obtained the Tylenol bottle from Mary Kellerman's home, which of course the Elk Grove police, just by basically chance, had saved it with the ambulance report earlier that night. So they took that bottle too and they brought it in for analysis, and the puzzle pieces now started coming together. So now we're like into the night. And so now the puzzle pieces are coming together, and now we're at the night again of the 29th. So while they're still figuring this out, this situation still claims another person.
What?
Because nothing was official yet. I mean, they're just figuring this out.
Right.
So on the night of September 29th, Paula Prince, lots of women.
I was just going to say that.
She was 35. She was a flight attendant for United Airlines. She landed at Chicago's O'Hare Airport after a flight from Las Vegas. So before heading home to her apartment, Paula stops at a Walgreens. And I guess this Walgreens was at 1601 North Wells Street in Chicago's Old Town neighborhood.
I didn't know Walgreens even existed in the 80s.
Well,
Wow.
you do now.
Yeah.
And she bought, of course, a bottle of Extra-Strength Tylenol.
Son of a gun.
Now, what's interesting about this one is that there was actually surveillance camera footage
Back
of this.
then.
The 80s.
I know.
Come on. So, I mean, I was freaking watching Eureka's Castle in the 80s. There were cameras
Well,
around.
so was I, but I don't recall there being...
Eureka's Castle.
I would do the little jingle jangle sounds, but I couldn't. I shan't. What
So-
were those goons called? Bip and Bop. I liked them. The siblings.
The ones that lived in the sewers?
Correct.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wanted those rawhide horns that Eureka had.
Oh, she was adorable.
Yeah. And that freaking wand. I had about 5 wands that I pretended were hers, and none of them looked like hers. But
I thought you were going to say none of them worked. I was going to say, well, if any of them worked, oh, that would be fantastic.
Batley was definitely
He
a
was
favorite.
sweet.
Of course, Magellan, that poor dunce.
Anyway, so yeah, there were cameras, if you can believe it, back in the 80s. So there was a photo taken. So Paula is seen at the Walgreens checkout around 9:30 p.m. She's purchasing this bottle of Tylenol. And just behind her in the photo, there is a man.
That is not what I thought you were going to say. I didn't.
A bear?
I thought...
A wildebeest?
I thought this whole thing with the surveillance was just like, oh, she went in here. Oh, this is what she purchased. Not that the freaking culprit was going to be watching his handiwork and the bottles getting taken out of the store.
Well, so if you'll allow me. So just behind her, there was a man. He was a bearded man, it says, and he was hovering just a few feet away from her. So police later released this eerie image, suspecting that the unknown man with a beard, in quotes is what they said, in the background might actually be who they are now dubbing the Tylenol killer.
Wow.
Now, again, they weren't saying he was the Tylenol killer at that exact moment because they hadn't named him yet. But I'm saying, like, future them
Later
is
on.
saying that that's what he ends up being named. And how you just said, like, he was kind of like watching people buy his poisoned
It's like
Tylenol
an arsonist
capsules.
going back and checking things out or watching the scene unfold.
So Paula Prince, she goes home to, I guess she lived in a high rise on North LaSalle Drive. So she gets home, she takes these Tylenol capsules, again, probably for a headache. She locks her door. You like that part?
I sure do. Safety first, man.
Well,
and she doesn't
there was
even
no
know
safety,
what's lurking.
right?
Well, that's true.
But tragically, she never was going to unlock her door. She did live alone, so nobody knew immediately that Paula had become the latest victim of this poisoning spree. So her part of the story picks up a couple of days later when worried friends and family realized that like nobody had heard from her. So now we're on September 30th. All of this is in one day. Everything we've been talking about, one day.
Yeah.
So now this is where like they're going to start connecting the dots, like for real.
For realsies.
Yes. So by the morning of, which actually that's pretty quick.
Especially for the 80s.
So by the morning of September 30th, they are realizing that there is a really horrible common denominator of all of these people dying, and that is the fact that they were all taking Tylenol. So doctors and officials were trying to understand all of these weird deaths, and the pattern was originally not obvious, but they were taking steps to try to stop this and figure out what was going on. So as dawn broke on the 30th, the toll of the previous day was becoming clearer because at Northwest Community Hospital, the 20-year-old Teresa Janis, she had been clinging on to life on a ventilator. She wasn't expected to survive. So, like I told you, Teresa would eventually pass away on October 1st, which made her the fifth victim, like in the overall scheme. So she's hanging on to life. Now, over at Central DuPage Hospital, doctors had done everything they could for Mary Reiner, but she too was pronounced dead by 9:30 a.m. on the 30th. And as noted, Mary McFarland had also died either late that night or by the next morning of the 30th as well. So there were 5 known mysterious deaths. Mary, Adam, Stanley, the other Mary, and the other Mary. And then there were 2 very gravely ill people, Teresa and what they didn't know, Paula. Mm-hmm. So, which makes 7 total. So the cluster of cases spanning all these different towns and hospitals was okay, like whatever, weird. But the critical link was that everybody was starting to observe when they were like starting to compare these cases because they knew something was weird. Everybody was using Tylenol. So back in Cook County at the medical examiner's office in Chicago, Dr. Edmund Donahue, he started analyzing the evidence that was coming in. And when investigator Nick Fishus phoned...
Pishus.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Pish and vinegar.
Pishus. Oh, yes, you're right.
Thank you.
He called Dr. Donahue about the Janis family case. And Dr. Donahue had a gut feeling that something was going on with this, like with the way that these people were dying. So he said that all of the symptoms, which were like sudden collapse, their skin was turning blue from lack of oxygen.
Jeez.
None of them were really, well, besides I guess the one, none of them were really able to be resuscitated. All of these were very consistent with cyanide poisoning. Cyanide. So then, of course, but like people are still thinking, well, how the hell are all these people getting cyanide in their system? So Dr. Donahue asked Pishus to do something a little bit strange on the phone, like via the phone. He said, do you have any of these Tylenol bottles? And he said yes. And he's like, can you just open one up and just smell them?
What would cyanide smell like? Eggs? That's sulfur.
I guess we're going to find out. Pishus did this very cautiously, I might add. I would say no.
After all.
I'd say, Dr. Donahue, no. Talia, get over here.
You're so mean.
Talia, come here. Smell this. You wouldn't care. You'd probably lick it or something.
Is it salty?
You'd be like, well, my tongue did turn numb.
I forgot that you were going to say my tongue did fall off. So.
This is more your area of expertise than mine. So yes, anyway, he did smell the bottle, and he let the doctor know that there was a pretty distinct odor of what he called bitter almonds.
Oh, I have heard that with cyanide. Yes. Yes. A nice Italian cookie. If you know, you know.
I don't. So he said he actually smelled two of the bottles, the Janus family's bottle and Mary Kellerman's Tylenol bottle, and both of them smelled the same way.
You're going to start sniffing your bottles, aren't you? I suspect you shall.
Well, I don't know what bitter Tylenol smells like. What bitter almonds smell like.
You know what almond smells like.
I'm not interested in it.
Almond oil. You've used that before as a carrier oil.
I guess I did. So, apparently about 60 to 80% of humans can detect a faint almond smell from cyanide. Not everyone. Mm-hmm. And Picious happened to have that ability.
Thank goodness.
So that was the confirmation that Dr. Donahue needed, and they pretty quickly decided it was cyanide. So laboratory tests were basically rushed into being done that, like on the remaining Tylenol capsules from these bottles, and they all came back showing that there were lethal amounts of potassium cyanide in the medicine.
Now, riddle me this, though. Whoever was doing this, and hopefully once we solidify who that is, or that they solidified who it was, that he cooperated, he or she. But, I mean, how...
You want to put on your running shoes and get to the point here?
I'm imagining, like, you're injecting cyanide past the cotton into a capsule, but there's no way that's what was going on.
No.
Because, so then I guess you're just injecting it into the bottle and the capsules are
I don't think so either.
Okay. Continue.
Thank you.
Surely.
So the common factor for all these mysterious deaths, now it's no longer in doubt. We all know what it is. The extra-strength Tylenol capsules from the Chicago area had been tampered with poison. So by mid-morning on September 30th, health and law enforcement officials knew that they had to act very fast to prevent more deaths, which that's crazy to think about. Like, you're just coming to this realization that a very common household drug has been, at least, in a town like Chicago, has been legitimately poisoned, but like nobody knows yet. And people could be popping them at any time. Now, you know what I mean? Like right now.
Absolutely. Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
Yes.
So at about 10 a.m., the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office holds an urgent press conference to warn the public not to consume Tylenol capsules. I couldn't even imagine me hearing this. So
you're not a Tylenol taker, you said.
I know, I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. So, this was something that like does not happen often. Like this warning was, bonkers.
Right.
So telling an entire city that they shouldn't be taking an over-the-counter painkiller because it might be lethally
compromised,
filled with cyanide.
I know.
So the basic message at the end of the day was, if you have any Tylenol, don't take it. So hospitals, police, city authorities, all these people scrambling to spread the word. In Arlington Heights, Helen Jensen personally called the police chief and insisted that they pull Tylenol off of all the store shelves immediately. So some of the officials were hesitant.
Oh my God.
Because after all, at that moment, there were only a few bottles that had poison. We don't want to waste that money.
This is like in Jaws with the shark and closing the beaches down and affecting the money for July 4th weekend.
Money makes the world go round, baby.
Right.
But good for Helen here. Her urgency won out, and they did start taking all the Tylenol off of the shelves that same day.
She was a crusader.
So now, Tylenol is made by Johnson & Johnson. So they too reacted very swiftly. Good for you, Johnson & Johnson.
Right.
By the afternoon of September 30th, Johnson & Johnson put out warnings to doctors and distributors about the cyanide-laced capsules. So the company identified one lot number, which happened to be MC2880. So check your bottles, everybody.
He's kidding. This was from the 80s. Anyone who's just joining in now.
Well, this isn't live, so I would hope they're not just joining in now, but... And don't you think... You know that there are some people out there who probably have bottles of old medication from the 80s. And don't you deny it.
Insane to me, but I suppose, yes.
You know, like, some, like, I feel like older people who just... They
don't
just
get rid of anything.
Right. Collect stuff and, you know.
Yes, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Aren't you glad I gave out that number now?
I am, actually. I take back my... Well, I wasn't even mocking you. I was just making sure the chillers knew. Don't be alarmed.
If you're just turning on the program now.
The program.
Anyway, that was the lot number that seemed to link all of these. Like, they all had that lot number on it.
Well, then that makes me wonder, because I was thinking it's someone going into these stores, especially that it was drugstores and grocery store one. But now I'm thinking it must have been someone in, like, what, the distribution center, the factory, Johnson & Johnson employee, not just some guy, woman off the streets injecting bottles inside the stores.
Mm-hmm. So they found this out by about 3 p.m. on that next day. So it was believed that these tamperings were local and pointed to somebody in the Chicago region putting poison in capsules after they were on store shelves.
Oh!
Because since the victims bought Tylenol at different stores, and the affected bottles came from different production plants.
I see.
Oh.
So then not the factory.
Right.
Or warehouse. Yeah.
So that day, authorities and the company focused on Chicago and the suburbs. Police literally drove around town with bullhorns, warning people.
Are you kidding me?
So basically like an ice cream truck saying, throw out your Tylenol, don't have Tylenol, blah, blah, blah. Which, again, at that point in time, like, that, you can see how, like, that is a freaking dire situation.
There's
because
no social media like there is now for people.
Right, and even
not
not everybody's watching, like, the news 24/7, and you know, so yeah, but
radio
what a
programs
crazy thing to hear outside the window,
coming out of the bullhorn.
Right.
What does Rose say? In that?
Hey, you! This is Avalanche Country.
But, you know, very resourceful of them taking it to the streets. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
they
good
had
for them.
to.
Yes, they did have to.
Right.
Pharmacies, like I told you, now that everybody knew what was going on, they yanked those Tylenol because then they could be sued.
We don't want that.
No, we don't.
Nothing motivates people more.
And of course, citizens were asked to just throw out their Tylenol bottles. Well, they didn't have to ask me. I'd be burning them in the backyard.
Burning them in the backyard. You would have had cyanide fumes.
I was going to say, yeah, I probably wouldn't be doing that either. Talia, burn this for me.
You're so mean.
So the media ran like those little banner headlines, like on the bottom of, whatever, saying poison Tylenol. Like, and of course, this hit national media, of course.
Of course.
So, also on September 30th, I mean, all of this is happening. This is jam-packed.
It really is.
Law enforcement. They mobilized one of the largest investigative task forces Illinois had ever seen. So, Ty Feiner, which was... It says Illinois AG.
The Attorney General.
There we go. I knew it meant something.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. Okay. Ty Feiner, Illinois' Attorney General, and others pulled together officials from local police departments. So that was like Arlington Heights, Elk Grove, Schaumburg, and then just Chicago in general. The Illinois State Police, the FBI, and the FDA. So there's a lot of people involved
here. A lot
here.
of cooks in the kitchen.
Right. By nightfall, a Tylenol Murders task force was in place with dozens of agents and detectives hunting for the madman or madmen.
No mad woman.
No.
Suspected.
Behind the poisonings. Crime labs worked overtime testing Tylenol bottles for fingerprints, cyanide traces, or any other clues. So then tips began flooding in, and every lead, no matter how far-fetched, they looked into.
That must have been so time-consuming.
Yeah. So, and then it's like, was this an attempt to hurt Johnson & Johnson, like their business?
Good call.
Was this an act of terrorism or extortion? Was it a deranged individual with no motive, just out for shits and giggles? Like, nothing was off the table is what they were saying here.
Right.
So now we're at October 1st through the 2nd. So October 1st, which was a Friday. So by Friday, the public fear in Chicago was pretty high. People, after hearing the news, of course, cleared out their medicine cabinets. Yeah. Hospitals were inundated with panicked callers. I'd be sitting in the parking lot. Who had taken Tylenol recently. Oh, God bless these people.
You wouldn't have even had to take it recently. You'd be in the parking lot.
I feel like last year I did have a headache and I did take it.
I did think about taking one, but I didn't. But here I am.
So anyway, the hospitals are getting all these panicked callers who had taken Tylenol recently, and thankfully officials could at least say this to them. If you're calling me now, you're all right.
Oh my God.
But don't take any more. So, fine.
Right.
I would probably be like, can I have that in writing, though? Don't you want to at least test my blood or something? So, meanwhile, authorities continued to recover contaminated Tylenol bottles.
They were finding ones that...
Like, still in the stores, yeah.
But that truly did have the cyanide.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, contaminated. So they found a total of 7 cyanide bottles in the Chicago area, including the 5 that were involved in all of these tragic deaths.
So were the locations just those Jewel-Osco places and that grocery store, or like other name?
So the bottles were traced to several different stores. 2 of them were from the Jewel food stores, which is the Jewel-Osco place.
Yeah. So I guess then that wasn't a drugstore like I thought it was. It's a food store. It's a grocery store.
Yes. It was a drugstore also in Schaumburg.
Schaumburg.
Schaumburg. And then the Walgreens in Chicago.
Oh, I forgot about the Walgreens.
Yeah. Oh, and a Dominic's grocery store in Chicago. And a Frank's Finer Foods. There's a lot of them in Winfield.
This
so
got around.
Yeah, which again,
It's
I mean,
so disturbing.
Yes.
What?
No, you're right. It is. So, which also confirmed that these poison bottles were not isolated to just one store. Like we said, I mean, people were miles and miles away from each other.
Right.
So then on October 1st, like I told you, the 7th victim of those murders, which was Paula, she had been discovered.
Flight attendant.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I said, she lived alone. So when her friends grew worried about her, the Chicago police were asked to do a wellness check at her apartment. And they found her lying dead in her home. And on the bathroom counter was an open bottle of Tylenol with only 1 capsule missing. So there was...
Only took 1.
Well, so did the little girl.
Well, but I assumed that had to do with age and that she was still a child, so it like hit her harder somehow. Like it didn't take as much to do
I'm
damage.
pretty sure, though, you don't need a lot of
Cyanide
cyanide.
is
But who the hell?
cyanide.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I act like I have any idea. So the receipt, though, next to the bottle showed that it had been purchased on September 29th at the Walgreens. So Paula was basically the final victim.
Which is also insane to me that they were able to. I mean, that was so many deaths, but that there weren't more. I'm shocked. I think them like taking such quick action and getting all those bottles off the shelves. I mean, what a miracle that they were even able to act as fast as they did and that they connected the dots as fast as they did.
So her time of death was a couple days prior, but she was officially pronounced dead by the medical examiner at about 6:45 on October 1st. So with Paula's death, the human toll now stood at 7 people, unfortunately passing away due to this Tylenol usage. So Chicago's mayor at the time, Jane Bryn, she responded by banning the sale of Tylenol in this city and advising everybody to turn in any Tylenol capsules that they had. There was a very sad press conference where officials pronounced Paula Prince's death and the fact that a killer was at large for tampering with medicine bottles. The mayor emphasized the urgent removal of Tylenol from all Chicago stores, essentially an immediate citywide recall. So now we're into October 2nd. So fortunately, no new poisonings occurred after Paula Prince. But by the second, the string of murders had ended, but now the investigation is in full swing, and the public's demand for answers was pretty intense. And this case had now, like I said, it made national news. The idea that a household painkiller could be randomly poisoned was scaring everybody. So, as Feiner later reflected, this was perhaps America's first instance of domestic production tampering terrorism, is what he called it.
In the 80s.
Yes.
I just can't get over it.
We do know it's in the 80s.
Right.
So, and it was like this killer was causing random deaths with like, there was no like personal, like, this was not
meant to
like
target.
a vendetta or something.
Yes, exactly.
Precisely. So the first few days of October, every parent in America was checking their medicine cabinets. Hell yeah, baby. So Halloween was approaching, and the Tylenol murders sparked renewed urban legends about poison candy. Like razor blades and candy, that kind of stuff.
Do you remember ever being given fruit?
I mean, maybe, but
I wasn't allowed to eat the fruit.
who the hell would?
I wanted the apples. I wasn't allowed in case they tampered with them. And I was like, what? I was so confused by that. Like, I thought it didn't compute in my 4-year-old, 5-year-old head of like, why would anything be wrong with the apples?
An apple a day keeps the doctor away. So because this was so close to Halloween and such a crazy ass thing to be happening, some communities just canceled it.
They canceled Halloween.
No trick or treat that year.
Oh my gosh, it was serious. I'm not joking.
It was serious. So I guess candy sales that year reportedly dropped 20% because parents were just like, absolutely not.
We're not doing anything.
No.
No Reese's Pieces, no Tylenol.
Right. Exactly. So the Tylenol scare had effectively, it basically cast a shadow of paranoia all over. Because if medicine could be tampered with, why the hell not candy? Why
Absolutely.
not food? Why not
apples?
Other products? So back at this time, the notion of tamper-proof packaging wasn't a thing yet. But now it's about to be.
Right.
So before these changes took place, though, investigators had to try to find who committed this crazy thing and whatever. So that's what happened and when. So this is what we're going to do. Yeah.
Show me.
We're at an hour and 15, so I think...
Oh, shit.
I think what we're going to do is this is part 1.
All
and we're going
right.
to wrap up part 1 because this is a pretty detailed account.
It's a big-o.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up here and then we will see everybody next week.
And nobody go watch the documentary until we're done with our part 2.
I mean, a little bit of a forceful ask there, but...
And I mean
Talia said it.
Kindly.
So anyway, everybody, that is what we're going to do. So thanks for tuning into this episode.
Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody.
And as always,
stay safe
and stay chill.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. You've just listened to Chillworthy. Thank you for joining us on this latest episode. While we strive to keep our discussions engaging and lighthearted, we also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the real lives and events that are at the heart of these stories.
We try to approach each topic with a sense of curiosity and respect, fully aware of the impact these events have had on the individuals and their loved ones. Our goal is to honor their memories by keeping their stories alive and shedding light on the mysteries that surround them.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, and don't forget to join us on the next episode of Chillworthy.